Frank Talks, Pleasures and Lifestyles. And I'm Frank, because I have to be. We have a really fun show for you today. In studio today we have Mr. Greg Dunlevy. He is a public entertainer, a stilt performer, and actor. He does special events, and during slow seasons he plays on the streets in the summer and is a Metro performer and musician in winter. He is also the current president of Metro Musicians Association. Welcome to the studio, Greg.
Thanks, Frank.
Greg, let's start off with your history. You mainly are a performer. You're quite the artist. I mean, you're very multi-talented. Quite a different variety of talents you have. But I'd like to focus specifically on your position as president of the Music Metros Association, and as well as your experience as a Metro and street performer. So can we start off with your history about how you first got into music, specifically the flute?
Well, the first time I ever touched an instrument, Frank, I was about 12 years old, and I attempted to play the guitar, and I finally ran into a couple of people who showed me how to play it when I was about 15, and then I ended up being singer for a couple of rock bands. And the flute, I actually, many years later, I was living in on Colonial Street near Pine Avenue, and somebody had left a flute in my house one day, and I found it that night, and I picked it up, started blowing into it, got a sound out of it, and I stayed up all night and figured out a fingering, and from there on, it was just clear, go straight through. And a few years later, I decided to take lessons, and needless to say, I had to unlearn everything I'd taught myself and start all over again, and which I did, and very shortly I had passed the level I'd gotten to on my own.
So you're primarily a self-taught musician.
Primarily, I mean, I have taken courses. I've taken quite a few years of flute courses from professional teachers.
Can you tell me a little bit about the pleasures that you experience playing the flute as opposed to other instruments?
Well, I find the flute is a really very flowing instrument. It's a very mystical instrument. It's a very soft instrument at the same time, and I've gotten a lot of feedback from people when I'm playing in the Metro. People who will pass me for months and months and months, and all of a sudden one day they stop and say, I just wanted to tell you, every time I come down and hear your flute, it really brightens up my day. It puts sunshine into my day. It makes my whole day. I'm on my way to work in the morning, and I'm feeling really down or really grouchy or not great, and I hear your flute, and boy, it just picks me up, and I can get through my day with it.
How does that make you feel when you hear people come up to you and say things like that?
Well, it makes you feel like, gee, I'm really doing a service here. I'm doing a service. I'm giving the people something, people to get their day going.
That's beautiful. Let's talk now about some of the history that you experienced. Musicians Association. How did that come about? What was the catalyst to actually start a union?
Well, in 1982, up till the end of 1982, it was illegal to play in the Metro. Actually, up until 1983, and in the last couple of months in 1982, the Metro Police had gotten directions from their superiors to really clamp down on the Metro musicians. Near the end of December of 1982, I had received 3 tickets, and they were progressively more expensive each one. So I had the guardianship of my 2 kids. So I was a single father with 2 kids, and I was facing a possible $1,600 in fines. And I didn't know where the money was going to come from to pay for that. And I knew there were other musicians in the same position as me. So I went home, I drew up a petition with the help of my Francophone girlfriend. We drew it up in French. We got it photocopied. And the next day I took it out and distributed it to the Metro musicians and told them to get copies made of the copies and to get signed by the public. So we did that, and right after the Christmas holidays that year, I contacted the newspapers, and La Presse responded to us right away, gave us a half a page splash on page 2 of La Presse with a nice big photo. And when I got home that afternoon, I had a whole pile of calls on my answering machine from TV, radio, and other newspapers wanting interviews. And it just became, it had a snowball effect, and for a whole month there was just a deluge of media coverage. And during that period of time, I called a meeting of the Metro musicians, and what was really amazing was there was only about 30-some musicians playing in the Metro at that time, and there was not one musician missing from that meeting. Every musician came to that meeting, and I have not seen any artistic event where everybody who is asked to come to a meeting comes to the meeting. So it was really great, and we elected a committee, and I was elected president at that time, and we decided that we had to form an association to get taken seriously, and then we went ahead and got a charter.
Now let's talk a little bit about how this union is now structured within all of the metro stations. Every metro station, to my understanding, and if I'm wrong, please correct me, every metro station has a designated area for an act to perform.
Every station where musicians are allowed to play has a designated area where acts are allowed to perform.
Are there any metro stations that do not allow any acts to perform?
Yes, there are quite a few still. And there are some metro stations where we were allowed to perform before, and within the past few years they've taken the signs down.
And did they give you any particular reason as to why that's happened?
Yes, mainly the main reason is because certain musicians who play with amplifiers have been abusing the right to play with amplifiers and have been cranking up the volume and making it impossible for the employees to work. And sometimes the volume is cranked so high that the passengers complain too, because it just hurts their ears. So the Transport Commission's response to that is taking down the signs, therefore penalizing all the musicians for the sake of one or two musicians, which is really unfortunate.
That is unfortunate.
Yeah.